I'm gonna share my biggest buck story here. Comes from 2010. I was 19 years old, and a little bit of backstory. It was on my uncle's property, big woods, low deer density. I know my uncles and family had hunted it for years, and I knew there was one very good buck taken out of this little area, just one good buck for that area, really good, and I had seen pictures, and so I went around there and scouted, and I didn't even really know what scouting was. I just kind of like, oh, look at beaver swamp, maybe deer hang out around this area. And maybe I'll build my little stand here, a box rifle stand. I was not a bow hunter, and so I built that stand, and yeah, that was maybe 2 or 3 years previous to 2019, and so yeah, 2019 came, the rifle opener came and went, very slow. I went back to college, and I loved deer hunting so much, but I didn't know how to bow hunt, so the only thing I had was rifle season. And so I went back this Thursday of the second weekend of rifle, just kind of give it my all, and all my cousins and stuff were like, deer hunting's over, it's a 3-week season, but they're throwing in the towel, and they were doing maintenance on the cabin and stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go out and hunt, every day I'm here. And there's no one in the woods, and so I was out there on a beautiful day, and saying a prayer, because it was just a beautiful day. Like, I'd really like to shoot just a really big buck today. And I don't know, it was probably about 15 minutes after, and there was a pretty big doe across the beaver swamp, maybe 100 yards. Put my 270 up, zoomed in. Oh, big doe, cool, heat of the rut. She kind of disappeared. I blew on my grunt call a little bit, and that was it. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll just continue to sit here afternoon hunt. And yeah, fast forward maybe 15 minutes, and the doe had made her way to my stand. And looked behind her, and there is a buck trailing her. And like, wow, it looks like a good 8-pointer, or something along those lines. He was in the thick stuff. And I raised my gun, and the doe had spotted me at this point, and or spotted a little movement. It was a box stand, so she maybe just saw me put my rifle up, so she was kind of on alert. And I was like, well, I better shoot this buck now, otherwise they might boogie. And I let it rip, and he dropped, and that was that. The doe ran off, and I had walked down the hill, and it ended up not being a small 8-point. It ended up being the biggest buck of my lifetime. It was a monster, a giant, a 17-point buck that is just unheard of. And so, yeah, Joey can add that picture in, and it was crazy. Yeah, just a rut warrior. His ears torn in half, and yeah, Native American land, where the rifle season opens in September, open until maybe December. So it's like a 4-month rifle season. So, and in a high wolf area, and that deer should not be living there. And really cool.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So
Incredible.
yeah, very cool. Very thankful. Yeah, a little bit of scouting went a long way during the rifle season in that case.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool that you built the stand, and
I built that, yeah.
History to
little
it.
history. I can share my uncle's photo on there. That's a very old school photo. Snow with this big 10-pointer. So yeah, a lot of history. So yeah, we're all gonna share our biggest buck stories here, and Joey can take over his. I don't know if you're gonna do your biggest buck or your rifle buck. But
Yeah, actually, the rifle buck is the
phenomenal deer.
the biggest one by score.
Wow.
Not by points, but by score.
By
And
score.
It's yeah, I was in high school, a senior, and me and the family went out the night before rifle opener. It was the day before my birthday, so rifle opener that Saturday was my 18th birthday.
Wow.
So the day before, the whole family went out. We went to the local casino up by the deer camp and had a great buffet dinner. I got to hang out with Grandpa and my uncles and my dad and Mom, and
We're going to have Grandpa on here at some point.
yeah.
We're going to have Old Timers Edition.
And we went out to the parking lot, and in the trunk of my grandpa's Buick LeSabre, he had a rifle case, and him and my dad, they said, Joey, we've got a birthday present for you. You turning 18 tomorrow. We've got
Yes.
to make sure you have your own rifle
This
for
is
deer hunting.
awesome.
And so I opened it up, and it was a shiny, brand new 30-30 rifle, Marlin.
Wow.
A really special gun. One issue with myself, though, it had a big scope on it. And I myself, I'm not a big scope user. I like
iron sights.
open iron sights. I like 30, 40 yards, and I know
You
right
are-
where
you
that
are
round
old
is
school.
going. Yeah. So I get this new rifle, and soon enough comes opening day of rifle season that Saturday morning. We get out, me and my dad, and we're in the same stand. We've fortunate enough we had a 2-person wooden stand where he sat on one side, I sat on the other, so we're facing each other.
Wow.
About 7:30 a.m. in the foggy swamps, we hear this commotion about 60, 80 yards out, and we see in this clearing this giant beast of a buck. It seemed to be
Wow.
5-6 feet tall. It just looked gigantic.
Wow.
And he came right for us in our stand, and me and my dad will never forget this detail. He came running right for us like this, head going left, right. His horns were just grazing right through the tall swamp grass. And right when he gets to us, he looks up. He's about 15 yards out. He sees us, he turns, and he goes. And that's right when I had my sights on him and took one shot. And that buck turned around,
Wow.
went back the way he came from.
Wow.
Long story short, he ended up going to the next island over, bedded down. My dad was a little anxious. He got up to check about 5 minutes later, and that buck got up, took off.
Give him time.
We walked to that island, and there's about a gallon of blood
Wow.
right in a spot. So we had a good feeling
Good
about it.
sign.
But we figured, this isn't good. This is a giant deer. And he went the opposite way of where the road and trail is. So
Wow.
we ended up pursuing him about 10, 15 minutes later, jumped him again. He took off to the next section of swamp. And my dad and I are just thinking, oh, this isn't good. This could end bad. We might never recover this deer.
Yeah.
And I will say my dad went back to the stand. He said, that's hunting. We'll call it. And I started going back with him, and I thought, I'm not done looking for this buck yet. So I went back, and he's turned around with me, said, okay, I'm not going to let you go alone. And sure enough, we got to where we last were, and about 50, 60 yards from that, we see this gigantic buck laying there in the swamp, probably a mile out from where we need to get it to.
Wow.
Gigantic body. It turned out to be a 9-point, scored 158 gross score, and then the final score was 154 and 6 ace for the
I love
gross
holding
score.
that buck at your place.
It's a unique buck. His horns curve in.
Wow.
And I believe currently with the Minnesota Big Game Records book, he places 56th for Pine County
Wow.
rifle
Gun season.
buck.
Yeah.
Typical.
Ton of mass on him.
Yeah.
Big dude.
Just a big guy.
A lot of mass. But that goes back all the way to high school, and very fortunate to just experience that with my dad, my grandpa, and everyone there at deer camp. So that was that.
A lot of luck involved with this, but I'll take it, man. I need all the luck I can get.
Exactly.
2021
Wow.
bow kill.
Wow.
So
Wow.
this was rifle opener, firearm opener for
Yeah.
Minnesota. I'm a fool. I love bow hunting. I'm out there with my bow.
Not a fool. You're the man.
I just love it. So I take it, and I'm okay passing deer if I have to.
Yeah.
I like bow hunting. It's
Exactly.
just my personal preference.
That's
But
awesome.
I had some options available to me on places to hunt, and I opted to hunt on my property. Small property, less than 20 acres, very kind of a lot of biodiversity, but the important piece is there's water nearby and it's surrounded by agriculture.
Sure.
A lot of hunting pressure, but not a lot of bow hunting pressure.
Yep.
So years past have taught me that once that firearm comes around, I better shoot what I can get.
Yeah.
Because everything changes after that. So
It's done.
I had
Yep.
pretty low standards at that point, but I was happy to be hunting. I chose to hunt there because 2 days prior, I had went out and there was a massive scrape in some thick cover
Wow.
right next to my stand. The things you'd hear about, a car hood type scrape, just
Wow.
tore up.
Unheard of. Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
This is traditionally a really good like pre-rut going into rut spot as deer transition and some of them does come into heat.
Wow.
So I had good hopes, but I was not expecting a monster. The problem with this property is access. So I wake up very early, sneak into my stand, bring the bow up. Now in this particular stand, I had moved some stands around. I didn't have a bow hanger. And I wasn't about, my plan was to sit all day. I wasn't about to sit all day with a bow in my lap. If you've ever done that, it's kind of annoying.
It's rough, yeah.
You can't eat at the same time. You don't want to drop your bow.
Yep.
So I took a little carabiner with like a hook on it and stuck it on the seat of the stand and put my bow on.
Oh, wow.
Never done this before.
Yeah.
Bad idea, which we'll soon learn. So about, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes before sunlight, to my west, I heard a stick crack. And I've had does come in the morning like this before.
Yeah.
I didn't think much of it.
Oh,
'cause
doe
I'm in a doe bedding area is really what
Yeah.
I'm hunting. Didn't think much of it, but I thought, you know what? It's almost time. I better grab my bow.
Get it ready.
I go down to reach and I can't
Chink.
get it off that hook. I can't get it off.
Oh, it didn't make a noise.
It's like stuck in this hook.
Ooh.
So I have to get down and I make a little bit of noise and I was like,
metal on metal.
yeah. And I was like, that was really dumb. And so I don't know about you guys. We talk about it maybe another time, but I prefer to shoot sitting down with my bow. And so I often will set my cam on my knee like this and hold my bow and clip in. So I'm sitting there just like this.
Yeah.
And I kind of almost forget I heard that sound. And all of a sudden I hear, and this is thick buckthorn. He's coming this way. And that morning, out of desperation, I had hung down the trail a scent wick with doe and estrus on it. Because I was kind of desperate. Like, the firearm's here. I don't know what's going to happen.
Let's see what happens.
It was a south wind. The wind was going this way, and he was coming from the west.
Wow.
So I don't think he smelled it.
Yeah.
But he came up to it, and now he's close enough. It's very calm. He could smell it. I hadn't seen the deer still. It's so thick, and I just hear whoosh, whoosh. He's working a new scrape. Not the scrape I could see. He's working a new scrape.
Wow.
And I could tell by the sound of that scrape that this deer is serious.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's big or not, but it's a serious deal.
Game on.
He is, like, every stroke,
Wow.
you can hear it. He's quiet. You
Wow.
can hear a pin drop, right? So I'm just sitting there like this, like, let's see what happens. He comes, and I had shot other deer out of the stand before. The problem is the main trail runs this way, but there's a sneak trail where they sometimes come right under my tree. I'm like, if he comes under my tree, I'm in trouble.
screwed.
I'm in
Yeah.
big trouble.
Yeah.
He starts going that way, and he pokes his head out, and he looks right up at me.
No.
I see a huge wide rack. We could put the picture into this deer.
Wow.
I can't count point. I just see a wide rack, and my first instinct is like, look at his throat patch. Don't look at his
head.
I'm like, he'll do. So I'm looking straight at his throat patch, and we're just sitting like this. He's probably 8 yards away.
Wow.
Two eyeball.
So I don't know if he knows my stand is there historically or what, but I don't move. Feels like forever goes by.
Wow.
Yeah, he eventually calms down because I didn't move.
Yep.
And he can't smell me. The wind's going this way. And he begins to walk down the main trail this way, and he comes out and stops. Like mature buck often do. They don't walk a little bit and stop.
Yeah.
Stands there broadside, and I'm just like, what am I waiting for?
This is the time.
I draw back, I settle down, everything just works perfect. I let her rip, perfect broadside right behind the shoulder. Big mule kick, he takes off like a rocket.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm in disbelief. I think I text Joe. I'm like, I shot one. I think it's pretty big.
I don't know.
I think it's pretty big. I don't know how many points it has because I was not about to stare at his rack. Joe helps me calm down a little bit. I get out of the tree. I check. There's blood everywhere, but there's no arrow, and that concerned me a lot.
Yeah.
I had started shooting mechanical broadheads that year. Shoot whatever broadhead you want. My concern was the arrow didn't pass through. Even though it looked good, everything told me it was
Nice
good.
to have a pass through.
I want to pass through. I wanted
Yeah.
to look at that arrow and see what happened.
Yeah.
And so I went home. Now
Mhm.
I got a wife and 2 kids. I tell them the story. We wait a few hours, and I bring the whole family out with me.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm colorblind. I like to think I'm an okay tracker, but if I can have someone who can see color, that helps quite a bit. My son, who was I think 3 at the time,
Oh, wow.
comes out and he just starts speeding down the trail. I'm like, slow down, buddy. He's like, there's blood right all over the
Wow.
place.
Wow.
My wife confirms, like, yeah, it's a good track. Long story short, this buck didn't make it 60 yards. He peeled over, and the rest is history. So
Wow.
very fortunate that all came together and I could share it with the family. And
Yeah.
just to do it on a small property like that was super fun.
And that's the buck in the record book this year, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that
Wow.
That made it
We'll
for
put that
for
on
the
there.
both.